In 5, 4, 3, 2.
It's setting it up. I should have started a minute earlier. There we go. All right. All right. Let me do the gallery view so we can see both of us. Started a minute earlier. And let me turn this volume off. Oh, this is going to be a problem. There we go. How did we do this last time? All right, guys, let me figure out some of the techno here. Gallery view so we can see them. Let me try. Guys, let me figure out some of the techno here. Okay, let's try this. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Randy?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
I'm trying to keep the reverb sound. So, hi everybody who is watching. Hello, Mr. Drew. All right, I had this problem before, so I may start ramping this. Give me a sec. Try this. Let's try this. I may start ramping this. Hi, Terry. Hi, Drew. So what I'm trying to work out the techno now. Can I hear myself feeding back on myself? Try this. No, I am. I am still. Dagnabbit. Hi, Terry. Hi, Drew. Okay, how do I do this? So what I'm trying to work out the techno now. Can I hear myself? If I do that, now, can I hear you?
I can still hear you.
Can I hear myself? I can. Excellent. Okay, so hopefully I'm still able to hear questions. So people in the live chat, if you are still currently able to hear us, if you can do me a huge favor and just put in that you can hear us clearly on the live chat, and then I can also see if the chat is working, because this is the fun of it. So one more, just, hey, I can hear one of your devices at least 10 seconds. Yeah, I know, I turned that one off.
And now I don't know if you can hear me, Michelle, but I've lost you. Okay.
Maybe this is what I needed to do. Can you hear me now? This may be better.
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. All right, so let's try this. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is fabulous to have y'all here with us. We are now, am I not? All right, well, hopefully you can all hear me now. Hoping you can hear me. La, 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 la. Can you hear me now? I'm asking the people in the live chat. Okay, we're good. All right, there we go. So, hi, ladies and gentlemen. That was only 3 minutes of wasted time online. Welcome, welcome. We are catching up, as you may have seen from the video that came out this Wednesday, that I returned back to the land of mouse and did a whirlwind weekend. Drew has gone through those with me, where you fly in Friday night, do 2 days, the second day. My cohorts were Randy and Dory. And Randy, as you see, is on screen with me now. And Dory is off screen and may or may not join us. Perfect. But so what we're going to do is we're going to chat about the experience. Now, we had someone comment to me that they have a hard time following my shows unless I talk in lists. So we're going to talk in lists, because why not? My holiday lights are up. Okay. So, and during all of this, if you guys have questions, please feel free to throw those out, because that is, what generates all of this. From the house of mouse to Mouse's house. Yes, exactly. We are now in Mouse's house. Don't tell Sammy or Aggie that. So we're gonna kick it off with what the you want to do the worst or the best first for changes since COVID?
That is up to you. Because obviously everyone wants to hear the worst, so we can go through the best.
We'll do the best to make them wait for the bad parts?
Yes,
Oh,
that's right. Build up the tension.
building them up. I was hoping we'd build up to the good stuff, but we can do that. We can do that. All right. So what is the top of your list for the good stuff?
Wow. Well, I mean, there are a number of different things. I mean, overall, it's still Disney World.
That is true.
So you're seeing a lot of stuff. The good stuff was, I would say, my first.
Patrick wanted the worst first.
Well, see, that's it. He's got to stay tuned.
You were
But
saying.
I would say the best stuff would be is social distancing. If you like having your personal space, you get it. Even when you're eating, at all the places everywhere we went, especially eating at the dining establishments, all the tables were at least 6 or 10 feet apart. So you never felt like anyone was on top of you. So that was really nice. I would say that a lot of the lines were short, especially getting in. Rarely had a problem getting in, never had a problem going through security. Everything was very quick there. Even when we were there early, even when we were, going in for rope drop, you would think, oh, there are going to be a lot of people there. No, that was not bad.
Now the parks, for those of you who are watching, are at 30. It's at 35% capacity right now compared to what would normally be. So it's maxed out. They were hitting max capacity, but that was still so much less than what you would normally have had in that park. Stroller parking makes that very clear. So you were saying, sir.
And then other lines were short. Where we, if you weren't mobile ordering, there were a number of small carts and things that you could go. You were never more than a person or two behind. The lines were never very long for that. There were a couple times where we would be at where we would get things where you couldn't mobile order.
Right.
It was very quick. And then one thing that was nice was it's cheaper. I mean, the rooms were a lot less expensive. I mean, I probably wouldn't have been willing to pay for Coronado Springs for the Destino Tower.
No. Now the normal rack rate is whatever it is. Regular off the street people could book at 30% off right during this time, and because I was an annual pass holder, we actually got 40% off. So we didn't get the water view, which is actually, I think, the more expensive. We got the other side, but the reality is the other side for Drew, and for those of you who've ever been on the 16th floor, is that view over the parks and over, where you can see the sticks on, the mountains on sticks and the Tower of Terror and the Epcot ball and all of that. So, and I think you may have seen that in the footage I showed the other night. Drew was asking if your shirt was Haunted Mansion, and I told him it was.
It is.
Yeah, Patrick is going to be there on the 5th. And yes, we talked about that, and I'm very excited for you. Drew says, what time of day maxed out the park attendance, or was it floating? I would say somewhere around, I'm going to say between 11 and 4. Does that sound about right? Is that when you felt the worst of the crowds?
Yeah, I mean, it's Hollywood Studios probably was the most, the one where we probably had to deal with the most crowds.
Okay, because it's a much smaller park.
Smaller park, and also the one that get the hardest reservation to get.
That one maxed
and of course, all the most popular rides are there. So, I mean, we got there earlier we got there right during max time. So it's hard to see because we got there right at 11. And
it opened at 10.
At
well,
10.
Now it used to be, just as a caveat, that the maxed out time for Hollywood Studios was 10 o'clock in the morning, because you had to be in the park at rope drop to be able to get the boarding pass. They have since changed that so that if you have a park pass for that day, at exactly 7 a.m., you have to get up early in your room, wherever you are. You can go online and build your party and go and get your pass and get your boarding pass. They go quick, like by 7:01 or 7:02, they're gone for that first chunk. And then you have to be in the park at 2. But that meant that no one has to rush in at 10. If you got a boarding group in the morning, you still wanted to be there at 10, but it wasn't an, oh my God, I'm 3 minutes from getting in the door, damn you security people, or whatever it was. It was a much saner rush in. Now, the special part of that was that somebody was able to test the system. They originally said you have to be somewhere at 7 a.m., but they were saying you needed to be near the park, like an hour away or something. Well, Randy and Dory were up in the air in an airplane at that particular moment, and I was tied to them as their friends. So at exactly 7 a.m., using the same technique that I showed in my other videos, if you go to the Hollywood Studios video from September, I was able to get them into the park. I was able to go and get their boarding group for them at 7 a.m. because I was tied to them. So, and it asked me if I wanted to join the group, and I'm like, nope, I don't have a reservation. And I got them boarding group 16. They are boarding more people now. Now, my only concern was they landed at 9. They weren't going to get to the park till about 10:30 if they were lucky. And if I got them boarding group 1 and they only have an hour to board, we were going to be SOL. But they got boarding group 16, which meant they had to be in the line by 10:50. Was that what it was?
We were notified around 10:50 that we could get in line. So,
Okay.
And then, so what we did was we got to the hotel. We got to the hotel around 10:30, we got to the hotel at 10, and then we had to drop off our luggage, and then we were at the park by 11.
By 11. So they literally walked in the park and walked to the line. Now, Drew had another question.
Yes, we went straight into the line.
Right. He said, what time of day did they shut down the entrances, or was it 1 in, 1 out? No, they only sell a certain number of tickets. So you can walk in and out as much as you want that day. They've only sold that amount of tickets, and it's already capped. Now, Universal cuts you off at a certain point. They will reopen as people leave the parks. But this past weekend for Thanksgiving, actually, Universal shut down twice, 2 different days. So if that does not answer your question, let me know, but we will keep chatting. So yes, sir. Hi. So what's your next thing on your, all right. So my favorite thing, one of my things that I had that I really loved was the cavalcades. I hate having to sit for a half an hour or an hour to stake your spot for a parade. That I'm not necessarily, my attention span does not last for a parade. It really doesn't. And I hate that you can't cross the street for a half an hour and you get stuck in Adventureland or Frontierland and you can't get to the rest of the park. And it makes it very hard to kind of plan to maneuver around. A cavalcade, the tape is up throughout the day, but every 15 minutes, half an hour, sometimes there's an hour break, suddenly music gets really, really loud near you. And then maybe 2 floats and some walking people and the guards in front and behind walk through, and you get this little bit of magic and characters and experience, and then you can walk on and do your thing. We got to watch we saw every single parading Magic Kingdom. One of them we only saw the back end of. We just saw Santa going away. But, out of all of them, that was, but every single one other than that, we got to see a good chunk of or all of. And I love the fact that it was a hit and run. You could enjoy for 5 minutes or 3 minutes, get that wonderful energy, and then go do something more important.
Yeah, it was a quick hit. It was definitely a quick hit.
Yeah. So I think you had that on your list. Why don't you?
Yeah, I had on my list, and partly with the cavalcades too is that you would see characters you don't normally see. It's we saw Clarabelle, the cow.
Yeah.
We saw.
Only comes out for the Christmas one, I believe. I don't think she comes out for the others.
Right. But we saw Clarabelle. We saw Goofy. Goofy's nephew. Bert. We saw Bert.
We saw Bert from Mary Poppins.
Oh yes, we saw Mary Poppins and Bert. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because you'll see Peter Pan and Wendy and some of the others, but to see Bert was kind of cool. I'm trying to think who else. There was another one. We saw Alice from Alice in Wonderland. The Goofy one was just them. The Mad Hatter.
Yes, the Mad Hatter. So you got to see some different characters, and we saw Chip and Dale in their
Christmas warm outfits, standing atop of the. Now, normally where you saw them is where the Country Bears will come out and hang out.
Right.
And they would do that, so they switch out.
But the point was, how often do you see Chip and Dale? We got to see Chip and Dale.
Oh, I see them quite a bit. They do Garden Grill. They're wonderful.
Well,
if you ever go eat a Garden Grill, that is their meet and greet.
If you're not at a character dinner or a character lunch,
it's harder to see them.
Yeah.
But they
and then
here quite a bit.
Yeah, and then when we were at Animal Kingdom, same thing, is you saw them on boats. So you saw characters that you might normally see at like Tusker House, because we saw Daisy
Right.
and Donald. We saw some other characters. We saw Santa on the boats.
Yep. I really wish he was in like a
and
tie-dye shirt or
Rafiki.
something.
Yeah. So we
Well,
saw Rafiki. We saw a couple different
Right.
characters.
Now, well, like Rafiki used to be at Conservation Station. Timon used to be in the Lion King show. The Chip and Dale used to be over in Dinosaur Land in those that's why they had dinosaur costumes on. So they're usually in Dino Land. So all of these characters actually appeared elsewhere in the parks. They just consolidated them all into these boat rides. And again, the music gets very loud. You rush over to the water and you have your choice. You can watch them come at you, or you can be smart like Randy did and go to the exit side and share, so that there's nobody waiting, because they're all waiting for the boat to come up. Go to the other side, and then as people try to come over to your side, you're already there and you get personal waves. And I really hurt the feelings of we all hurt the feelings of one of the ducks. I'm telling you now. When we were in Animal Kingdom and we were cheering on Daisy and how much we love Daisy, the guy in the squadron outfit.
That's Darkwing.
No, not Darkwing. Darkwing is this. No, he's a McQuack. I don't know. He's
Oh, okay. I thought.
But that guy who's in like the
aviator outfit.
Yeah. We yelled, "We love Daisy," and he went. And we made him cry. I was really sad about that, because I was watching the footage. I was like, oh man, I would have at least said I love you too. I don't know your name, but I love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I felt bad. Who was the ship captain you made sad? It was not the ship captain. It was I will have to look up. Someone told me who it is. So all right. So so what do you think? You think that's significant about the cavalcades?
Yes, it's enough about the cavalcades, because I was also like the fact that, I also mentioned the character interaction is
incredible.
Yeah, and so some of the character interaction is good.
That's right.
Yeah, we saw the Incredibles at Hollywood Studio, and the mode, and even then, when they go by, you can still wave at them, talk to them. They will interact, especially if you yell out their name. I mean, if you're yelling something to them, they will. If you're yelling something appropriate or the other name, they will respond. So, so if you want the selfies, if you want some of those pictures, you got to do it at 10 feet, but it's still possible. And so we saw a number of people.
His name is Launchpad McQuack.
Oh, yes, I would never have gotten that. I have no idea who that is.
Someone posted a reply, because I put it up on another list I follow. Went, no love for Launchpad McQuack. That's cold. I was like, okay.
Well, it also helps to know his name.
Well, but I mean, we still could have said "I love you too" and not.
True. But I was just surprised that they could even hear us.
Yeah.
But and then so I mean, but that was so we really like the cavalcades, because we saw them in every park, and they were a lot of fun, because they just show up. It's out of you don't know where they're going to be. They just show up, which is a lot of fun.
Okay, so what else did you love about COVID times?
Actually, the other thing we actually liked, surprisingly, is that a lot of the rides you're going to have lines.
Yes.
And like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Flight of Passage, are always going to have a line. But I like the fact that the lines were all outdoors, because most of those rides you go indoors, and you can't. There's some things that but you're in line most of the time. You're inside. You don't see much.
Right, with the exception of like the Avatar line, or the Flight of Passage line, where they have the lab and stuff. Now,
but there have been plenty of times where I've been in these long lines inside. Now we're outside. So if you want something to drink, you can get something to drink. If you, if you want to see other parts of the park.
Actually, now though, you cannot eat or drink in the line unless it's for water, and they do caveat that. Right. So if you're standing in line, you can't be sipping on your soda. It's take your drink of water and you put your mask back on, and that's it.
Right. But if you're with a group, you can go to the bathroom.
That's true. Once someone can hold your line and run.
But you're outside, and so if the weather's nice, you're able to see more of the park and be able to enjoy some of that outside rather than being inside a line.
Yeah. Now for those of you who want to know, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, at a posted 75-minute wait, it was only about 62 minutes or 60 minutes when it was in reality. Went all the way around the Seven Dwarfs train itself, like besides all the back and forth in the queue, went all the way around the ride, and then all the way around the corner, and we got in line past the entrance to Ariel's Under the Sea ride. And that was only an hour wait. but it all the way back. Now, Drew had a question: were the lines to get into the shops were there lines to get into the shops doing limited capacity? Yes and no. The last time I was there in September, there was a huge line to get into Memento Mori. We lucked out that there was only 1 or 2 people in front of us. But in September, of course, you're going during Halloween, which is prime Haunted Mansion time. And from what I remembered seeing on the little person's counterboard, it was like 15 people in that area at a time. So if there was one time we got into wait, and there was a group of like 10 people standing in a group. And all 10 people, we had to wait for everybody else to clear out of the shop before that group of 10 could go in, and then our group could go in.
Yeah.
So that got a little crazy. But most of the shops, they had enough capacity and not as many people in them necessarily. Like at the end of the day, the Emporium streets you do get a line at those. And they also have only one way in and like 1 or 2 ways out. So you have a very specific way in and out for that. Okay, so you were saying, sir.
Oh, and that's where it was like, the line. I did not think the lines were that bad for getting, but I will say that on the flip side, the entrances in and out, that was probably we'll throw in a worst right now.
Okay.
It was not always easy to tell what was an entrance and what wasn't. And every now and then someone say you can't come in this way. It's like, okay.
Yeah. And they would be posted.
But rarely did we have a line. Rarely was there a line to get into a store. We were usually able to walk right in. Memento Mori was probably the only one where they said you're going to have to wait, but we never waited more than a minute or 2.
Right. So calculation lines. Here's one of my favorite things from this time period: quieter hotels.
Yeah.
Because like we had someone with decals all across their doors when celebrating a birthday or something, but the lobbies were quiet. There might have been 1 or 2 other groups hanging out, but it wasn't the crazy of energy even around this time that you normally have, because this is getting into Thanksgiving week, and it was not bad at all. So that was something I really liked.
Yes, agreed. And usually the service was very good because again, you didn't have a big line, you didn't have a lot of commotion to get to stuff. Yeah. So, at the hotels, we did not really wait for much of anything. Well,
there were computer glitches that we had to wait for, but we didn't have service to start.
That was different to me because we weren't waiting to get,
to stand in line for a person to come and talk to
a person. I mean, if there were other problems, that's uncontrollable. So.
And what do you have? What any other things that you really loved that you have on your list?
Let me see. And then ultimately, I would just say that the buses weren't as bad as I had feared. We didn't wait that long for those, so that was certainly above expectations on some stuff. We knew there were going to be some problems, but we didn't wait any longer than we usually do. Sometimes you have to wait for a bus to go by, when the parks are busy.
Right.
They were still running a lot of buses. We never really waited that long. And then Dory, you had one, which I can't read. You have to read it to me. I can't see that, Jeannie.
Yeah, Dory.
Oh, and then Jeannie also, Dory also, Dory also liked the decorations because the Christmas decorations were up, and so that was a lot of fun. The Christmas decorations were really nice everywhere in the park.
Yeah. 1 hour, Patrick. Your boarding you have an hour from when they call your group to be able to get into the ride. So when they got called at 10:50, they had till 11:50 to get into lines. They were good for that.
And the line for that moved really fast. I mean, we got in line, we just kept walking. I mean, we rarely stopped. So we were only in line for like 10 or 15 minutes at most, and it was basically just walking through the queue. They ordered that real well.
Yeah. The last thing that I had on my good list was recognizing and kind of feeling more special all of the little things. Every time some little bit of magic did happen, it meant more.
Mm-hmm.
For example, while they, when we went to see the castle projections, because they're not doing the dream lights this year, which makes me very sad. The projections were good. And they did a very good job of kind of making it special. They've since we left, they added fireworks at each transition, like a little poof of some kind of fireworks. But as we were getting ready to leave, we got out of dinner late and the park was already closed. So I was like, and when we got out, we were looking at the same projection we had seen before. And the one said, I asked someone, is that the way it's, or is this going to be it? Are we going to see any more? And he went, yeah, they're going to change it at this point as well. And, and if you stay till an hour after at X time, which was only another 15 minutes away, they'll do a special kiss goodnight. Okay. So the special kiss goodnight was a 5th projection that is only shown not like at an hour after the park is closed. And I showed this to you guys on Facebook for those of you who follow me on Facebook. And it was beautiful, and it was purple castle with a little Yule log and snow coming down on the castle. There is no Snope. The only place you will find Snope this year is Disney Springs.
Mm-hmm.
I miss Snope. I will say that's on my sad list. But anytime little somethings happen, they just felt better. They felt more magical. You were that much more aware of them. So that I thought was special. We got the photo of the COVID Ogas were unbelievable in terms of how there wasn't a huge crowd everywhere. Yeah, it's empty. I mean, I don't think you guys even tried to get into Ogas. For the trip I have coming up for Christmas, I have 2 different people I'm going to Hollywood Studios with. One of them I could get into Ogas with, the other one I couldn't even get in. So it was
the line to Ogas when we were there was really long.
Well, that's with reservations. That's not a walk-in line.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't try to get into Ogas because we've been into Ogas. We went to Ogas in Disneyland. So,
right.
So,
we're at about the halfway point right now. So for those of you who have not watched my channel before and are enjoying it or learning anything, please remember to subscribe to us. If you're not on live now and you want to throw comments in after the fact, please feel free to go do so. You can put the comments down below. And if you have any questions about what it's like out there, please ask away, and we'll do what we can to help. All right. So we're now going to do the worst. We may not get to the food.
Still have the best. The best was food.
oh well, yeah.
Well, we haven't. Well, we had the best and worst food. That was we were going to do the worst of the general stuff and then go to the best and worst food.
Yes. Okay.
Worst change. What? Yes.
Well, I mean, that's where it's, if you want me to, I can mention a few things. I would say the worst thing for me, I mentioned mobile. I don't know if I mentioned mobile ordering, but we had problems with mobile ordering. And there were too many places where you could do only mobile ordering. Right. And so so we had technical problems. So that made it doubly difficult to try to get lunch or get some things, especially if you're not sure what's going on.
Right.
So you can't go in and look at a menu. You have to have everything done in advance. So the mobile ordering normally is easy, but if you're having technical problems, that created trouble for us.
Right. And when I got there, I was able to do the mobile ordering, but that first day was a little rough.
Yeah.
My worst, the Magical Express does not take your luggage to your hotel for you anymore. And at the end of the beginning of the last day, when you go, you can check your bags with concierge, but you can't check it directly to the airport. So you're lugging your suitcase around more. And for being in Southwest, you have to go out back to the main terminal, down to the seats, the bottom level to get your bags, back up across to B and back down to get to the Magical Express. So it is much more of a hassle. I will have to do that for the next trip that I'm doing, actually, though I won't Magical Express it at the beginning. But there is something to be said for not having to lug so much garbage around and having them do that for you and have it appear in your room. So yeah. I miss that. I miss that a lot.
Yep.
And for me, another issue was the transportation in general. That while I know you were happy with it, the monorail to Epcot isn't running. The monorails in general, which I haven't been in yet, are still sitting two groups in a monorail, which is an enclosed space. So that concerns me a little bit. I mean, they're not very long rides, but it's still something to be aware of. The buses, they've doubled the capacity to the buses. So instead of a pod of five, like 6 groups that each can have about 5 seats, they're now doing 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 2 to 3 seats. So you can get more people on the bus because they have to enhance the capacity. Which is better
no
for getting
standing room
around
only.
outside the park.
No standing room only on the buses.
Right. Yeah, you're not crowded in the buses. And I do like that. I will absolutely say guaranteeing a seat is nice. But it still was a frustration. Someone just said, which is better for getting around the park, outside the park, Uber or Lyft? Both. I will tell you this, download both, have them both set up. And then when you want to go from point A to point B, open both up and see which one is cheaper.
Mhm.
And then
We
just
use,
switch them
yeah,
around.
we use Lyft. We had both of our drivers arrive within 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah. And I've used both Uber and Lyft, and it just depended on the time of day and from point A to point B. I actually ended up, I think Uber tended to be a little less expensive. Most of the drivers in that area are both Uber and Lyft, just because that's what they do. So you're generally getting the same people, but they're about the same.
Yeah.
You know, they don't offer the minivans, which are 3 times or 4 times as expensive, but those aren't even an option right now. So that fleet is just sitting out to pasture. All right. What else did you have that you didn't like?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's actually wearing a mask was not that bad, but when you wear it for 10 hours a day,
Yeah.
we were sore. I mean, my ears were
Oh, yeah.
sore, my nose was sore, especially if you're sweating. I'm sure that your nose would be really sore. I mean, and so, and you know, you have to wear a mask during pictures. So,
That's true.
so it just taking your mask off was like being able to, you know, you can only take your mask off really when you sat down. So that was, you know, so that was the stuff
Take
we
a few
didn't.
masks.
So, and so that's why take a few masks. I mean, because if your mask gets damp, you want to swap it.
Yeah, yeah, and at least 2 to 3 masks per day,
Yeah.
a minimum of 2 per day. And you
Yeah,
can do
we
the
use
paper
2 or 3.
surgical ones. You can buy them there. I tried on the mask that I got from them. I think I needed a size larger than they gave me because it's still tight around the ears. But I have noticed you can get those mask savers. They're like a longer kind of silicone piece with hooks on them, and you can hook the ears on it, and then the mask kind of goes up like this instead of straight across. Some people do that.
Yes, that
all
would
right.
be more comfortable.
Yeah. Other things that I did not like, the shorter hours. It's frustrating to me. They've still enhanced them, but like for New Year's Eve, nothing's open at midnight. Not a park. Magic Kingdom has now been extending their hours till 11, which is still not midnight. So that means that, you know, there will be people hanging on at the exact moment of midnight that haven't strolled out of the park for the kiss goodnight. But, you know, and part of me is kind of sad now that we're going to be at Epcot instead of there, but it is what it is. But they have amazing Disney employee driver soundtracks, insider knowledge, etc. Watch for the reopening. Yes, dear. Thank you for the mini fan. It is Lyft, but it is not available right now. So that made me sad. Also, with shorter hours or reductions, the menus are reduced. There are some of my favorite things that are not showing up on menus right now. And the ability to make reservations because capacity in restaurants is dropped is also down. Yeah, I mean, just and sometimes there's just nothing available, especially in Hollywood studios or on those special holidays in the parks. There's just nothing. There's just nothing. What, do you have anything else on the? I have one more thing on the negative list, but I want to see.
I do have a couple things on the negative list.
Go for it.
Dory had one that I agree with, is that it's not that the lines were bad, because, you know, like I said, the lines were outdoors, and it was, but because the lines were outdoors, you couldn't find the end of the line. I mean, there were a lot of times we'd walk around saying, where is the end of the line? It used to be, where is the entrance to the line so you can go in, because you have to figure out how do you get into line. Now it's, where is the end of the line? And so a lot of times you are walking way. I mean, when we got on Flight of Passage, we walked through the entire area of
Moara.
Moara. Pandora, and just to find the end of the line. And although that was, you know, and that was a bit hard. That was a bit cumbersome.
Yeah. I mean, even when, like, you kept saying, where's the end of the line? I went, we're getting there, but where's the end of the line? We're getting there. My last of the negatives was the Haunted Mansion.
That's mine too.
Okay. So,
which is blasphemous for me.
What? I know.
Which for me is blasphemous.
It is, looking at your shirt and everything else. They walked into the Haunted Mansion and everything they were wearing was Haunted Mansion. It was, I'd be surprised if their underwear wasn't Haunted Mansion, if it is possible. I don't want to know. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I put together a map list of the top lounges reviewed by another site for future reference. Many are sadly not yet open. Yeah, you are correct. And we went to some of the best ones that are open, but yeah. So Haunted Mansion, and it wasn't that the ride was bad, but that because they're not doing the stretching room, you just walk right through it, and they're not doing all of those rooms where you go in, the door closes and you're in the dark, and then you go in the next room and you're in the dark and it's spooky. Your eyes are actually slowly adjusting to being in the dark, so that by the time you actually get on your doom buggy, you can see what's in the ride. Right now, you're going from bright light, and within less than a minute, you're getting into your doom buggy most of the time, unless they're doing cleaning. So your eyes have not acclimated. And I knew it was about to happen. So as I was standing in line, I was actually trying to totally close my eyes just to try to get them used to darkness for a little while. But I don't think you guys realized that. And the first half of the ride, you couldn't see it from what you were saying.
We were doing the same thing. We were trying to close our eyes to get our eyes to adjust. When we went at night, I kept one eye closed just to try to make sure some of my eyes adjust better. At night is when I would say do not get on the Haunted Mansion during the day if it's a ride you like. Or even if you're not a big fan, don't ride it during the day. It's when we rode it at night, our eyes adjusted a lot better, and we could actually see more things. I mean, during the day, we kept wondering, why did they turn the lights? Why did they make the ride darker?
Right.
And they hadn't. We even asked. We asked some of the butlers, and they said, nope, nothing's been changed. Yeah. It's just your eyes haven't adjusted.
And that's a very bizarre thing, to be really honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very bizarre.
Yeah. In fact, I think didn't you say someone said they turned the lights up on it?
They said that they had made some minor adjustments to some of the chandeliers. And they said they may have made them a little brighter, but nothing that would be noticeable.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I think it probably just made things just a simple bit easier, but it was good. It was still very good. Pardon me, I'm switching things around for a second. There we go. All right. So that was the last of my negative list. What did you have any others on yours?
The only one was Dory was very disappointed with the penny machines. A lot of them, some have been moved.
Yep. But they weren't where the maps had them.
But now it's you don't put a penny. They cost $1, and so you have to have dollar bills, or what's nice is a credit card. But you don't bring your own pennies anymore. And some people may say that's great, but they now cost twice as much. Right. So that's stunk. And then you run out of dollar bills.
Yeah. So, and if you don't, if you come in with your change in your cash, instead of 51 cents, it's $1, and you can't choose your own penny. And you said to me, and I know it'll be in one of the videos coming up, that there's a difference in the metals in the penny, so that the pressing won't stay as well. So you have to be really, really careful with it, because it's not going to hold the press, the picture, which is sad. All right. I'm going to say we turn things around. I want to start with the worst food. I'm going to start with the worst food, and I want to end on the good stuff. I want to have a happy thing at the end. So I know you had less on your list. So why don't I start? The absolute worst food that I had this entire trip was the crispy artichoke that was over at Dahlia Lounge, Grand Destino Tower. They took an entire raw artichoke and then dumped the entire thing into a deep fryer, no breading, and then put it in a platter. And while that, and maybe they might have cut it in quarters before they did that. And then they covered it with a raspberry gastrique, a raspberry grape gastrique. And the raspberries were also either deep fried or frozen, because they came out whole, fried, crunchy raspberries, dehydrated. The problem is they put the entirety of the artichoke in there. And normally you get an artichoke, you dip it in butter, and you pull the meat off of it. They fried the entire artichoke. So I went and grabbed a piece and went, ow, ow. And it was like sharp edges, like you have on the edge of the artichoke. And literally, it was a painful thing to eat. They got a couple pieces when you got to the heart where it was meatier, or a couple of the smaller pieces in center that were small. But I had this big bowl, and I suffered through maybe a quarter or a third of it, and I couldn't eat anymore. And the guy at the restaurant said nobody likes it, and it was the only officially gluten-free option on the menu. which, and that's a big thing for me with the reduced menus, is the lack of gluten-free options, or the lower number of gluten-free options, because it can be very hard for me to find things. And while chefs are very good at coming out and talking to you to modify or adjust things, the fact that when you look at a menu and you see one item on there, you're like, oh hell, now what am I going to do? Especially if it's not something you normally eat. I mean, and I know vegetarians have that same kind of issue. It's
Yes, Jeannie had the same issues. It's reduced menu
Dory
was difficult. Dory had the same problems with reduced menus. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it was not, I mean, we still found very good food, but it was still, it's a struggle. Why don't you give one of your worst foods? Granted,
Okay,
I realize you liked most of your food, but
I liked most of my food. I mean, the top of the list for worst would have been we went to the House of Blues,
tell you a second, Drew.
and we knew that we went there hoping it was going to have blues music and some other things. Music wasn't that good. The atmosphere wasn't that good, and in the food, although it was made, you know, we didn't have any issues with where it was maybe done improperly. Just I had a pork sandwich. It didn't come with any sauces,
It blows my
which is
mind.
like it's this pulled
It's a
pork. This
barbecue
is it's barbecue. It's supposed to be barbecue stuff, no sauces, and ultimately it's just the food was just okay. I
Yeah,
mean, it's certainly not the most expensive place there, but
true.
it was just really disappointing. We thought this, you know, with a place with this reputation, we would at least expect something decent, and it wasn't. It was just overall, even Dory's selection was just
I had tacos.
yeah, it was good. It was okay, but it was bland. It wasn't
Well,
really.
you said even on the
very
way
bland.
there, the Lyft driver was like, "You're going there?"
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
such a bad when a
and
local. It's like,
yeah. Even the Lyft driver said it's okay, and you know, ultimately we didn't want anything really big
Right.
or heavy. We wanted a light meal, but it was not worth the walk from the drop off. And that's the hard part, is that, you know, pick a restaurant close to where you're being dropped off, whether it's the buses or the taxis. Pick something close, because walking through Disney Springs stinks. I mean, it is so,
especially
it
on a
can be
Friday
so
night.
crowded.
Yeah.
It can be so crowded.
Drew was saying he might have been disappointed with the lack of tours. Are there any still running? No.
Nope.
No, I take that back. If you have lots and lots of money, you can hire, your tiny small group can hire a VIP guide. That's it. And then you and your guide go into rides and stuff like the Club 33 type stuff that I did that one time. But that's it. The type of tours that you and I did, or that most people will do, like behind the scenes or all that kind of neat, cool no, none of that's there right now. My next big disappointment was the gluten-free mac and cheese at Liberty Tree Tavern. It was bland. I was told the regular mac and cheese was good, but I literally had to take a packet of salt and add salt to this mac and cheese because it had no flavor. When I did that, it tasted sort of okay. But I've been really looking forward to that, and it just was like a creamy mac. It had no cheesy flavor. So that was a big disappointment for me. The stuffing was incredible, but that was not good. How many other things do you have on your negative list?
I only have one other thing on my negative list.
Then let me do something else on here then, so that we can be
Dory, did you have anything else on your negative list?
Yes.
Yes, Dory did have one negative item I'll mention. Is that there were limited vegetarian options, and then especially since in Disneyland there's a vegetarian Ronto wrap. At Disney at Hollywood Studios, no veggie Ronto wrap. And now I know that's been a problem from the start.
Yeah, they didn't have it ever.
They still don't have it. The veggie options everywhere in
and that really surprises me, because one of the things that they stood for in Disney said is a plant-based option on every single menu. And all I can think of is some other random thing on the menu they decided was plant-based, but not a wrap. So my next disappointment would have been the charcuterie platter at Cinderella's Royal Table. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. It was, you know, they took the bread on the side, so I didn't have to have that. And the roulette, I'm never big on roulettes. I just ignored it. And the meats were okay, but there was no cheese on the charcuterie.
Nope.
Nope.
And I'm used to at least having meat and cheese. So Dory couldn't have any of it.
Right.
She had the pickles. Which she said were pretty good. But so that was just a disappointment that, you know, now granted, they give us each a soup, and I think they just gave us that for free because we were the last people at the end of the day. but so I can't really complain, but I would say out of all of the assorted things that we had, that was the least exciting. What else is on your list, sir?
At Liberty Tree Tavern, another nitpick is our stuffing, the regular stuffing, was kind of bland. It did not have a lot of flavor to it.
Yeah.
I mean, so you had to put some salt on it, or add a lot of gravy,
right,
to really give it some flavor.
Which in that it shouldn't have. I mean, we'll go to mine because I think that's on my top list. So next thing on my list is the Cinderella's Royal Table was the dessert that I got. All of the desserts were good and they were all gluten free, but the least good for me was the chocolate pot de creme, and it was actually a coffee chocolate pot de creme, and it was sort of like coffee with a little bit of chocolate. And me having that much coffee late at night, I took, I'm going to say 2/3 of it home. It was great for breakfast. I got my buzz on like nobody's business in the morning on the second day, but it was really coffee pudding with a little bit of chocolate flavor. And I think I would have been happier with the chocolate dessert that we had at the table, because it was just too much for me. I mean, I know you didn't like it because you're not a big coffee fan.
Dory and I are not coffee drinkers, so we really did not like it. But I mean, it was basically, coffee. It really did taste like coffee with a little chocolate.
Yeah. Patrick is asking if do more dining reservations open each day? Generally not. However, if you are getting ready to go, the day before you go, at 24 hours before the reservations, people have to release reservations if they have changed their mind or they owe money if they're going to be a no-show. So the day before, start checking. If there's a restaurant you wanted to change to, upgrade to, go online and look for availability, to modify. The other thing that they have right now is walk up. So when you go into your My Disney Experience app, instead of saying you were looking for a reservation for tonight, you can actually hit now, and it will put you can potentially go into a walk up list if there is availability. It'll show you everything that's available. So there you go. All right. So did you have anything else? I have one other worst food.
Nope. Oh, well, actually, Dory also mentioned that limited popcorn buckets. They did not have a Christmas popcorn bucket.
No, it's not food. That's a sad thing. All right. They did have
that's food. Popcorn's a food.
Yeah, but the bucket is what you were upset about, which is plastic.
Dory had a list.
Here's the thing. So... Here's the thing. They existed. There was a new Christmas bucket. It was beautiful. It's a white Christmas tree and it lights up. And by the time we got there, they were gone.
Yeah.
Just gone. But that's the whole thing of limited edition. Now, I will say, if I go back at Christmas time and they have more of them, I will get you one.
Yay!
Okay, Dory's happy.
Only if we can do that. Only if they exist, I will try.
Yes.
No guarantee.
It's okay. No guarantees.
My last bad food, which is my own doing to have, is the Florida tap water. It's just yucky. It just has a weird aftertaste to it. But if I'm complaining about one of the worst foods being something that's not even Disney, it's just water, that should tell you that the food was kind of amazing most of the way through. So we're going to end talking about our favorite foods.
Whoa, long list.
So how are we doing here? Yeah, we got 12 minutes to go through this long list. Are you okay going over a little bit?
12 minutes is not enough.
I know. So you're okay if we go a little bit over?
Yes.
Oh, Dory, I'm only allowed to get you a popcorn bucket if you apologize to Drew.
No.
We'll have to have discussions.
We'll negotiate.
No.
We'll negotiate. No.
I don't need the bucket.
Okay. Drew, you've started something here. All right. So on that note, what favorite food? What was your most favorite food that you had?
Wow. That, I hesitate to say favorite food. What I will say is the food that exceeded expectations, because every meal we had was really good.
Yeah,
because I even had to think about, what didn't I like? Oh yeah, there were a couple things that were a little bland. The most amazing thing was, I will say,
I'm sorry, hold on. It now says no bucket for Dory. Nope, none, never, nada, no way.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Drew. Randy, you were saying.
Okay. I would say it was the pot roast at at Liberty Tree Tavern
Yeah,
was
yeah.
amazing.
Yes,
It was
it
so
was.
good. If I was going to get a second helping of something, it would have been the pot roast. It was like that
did.
pot roast. I just ate that up.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
fabulous.
everything on the plate was good. I mean, because it was also
Your
pork
gravy
with
had a
mushroom.
skin on it.
The what?
Your gravy had skin on it.
Well, that's because it had cooled off.
Yeah.
That's all. So that wasn't bad. Once I dug under, it was okay.
Yeah, it was still good.
Because it was a pork loin was good because that had a nice mushroom sauce. The turkey was very good. But the pot roast was amazing. The pot roast was so good.
Yeah, it was really extraordinary.
Yeah.
That was that and the gluten-free stuffing were in the middle of my list of amazing foods.
Yeah.
Because that the pot roast was the first thing I put in my mouth at that meal, and I was like, well, actually, after the salad, and then my stuffing, and they said their stuffing was bland. I'm like, all right, you guys need some of mine then, because damn, this is good. It was really amazing.
Really good.
For me though, the best food, it's coming, gluten-free churros. Now, I will say the first batch that came out was a little overcooked, and they've been doing that a lot. The second batch we got that came out that pale golden color, so good. However, they are still doing, they've gotten this chef that does runny vanilla crema, and I hate the runny vanilla crema. I like the thick crema.
I have to agree.
And I was very sad about that. But yeah, that's still the top.
It still tasted good.
It did. So what do you got next on your list?
I will have to say is we had watched a number of things, and I will say Disney Food Blog and a lot of other places got it completely wrong. Cinderella's Royal Table was amazing. The food was there were no, well, we mentioned the charcuterie, but ultimately everything was made incredibly well.
Yeah.
It was tasted really good. I mean, the desserts were amazing. I had the chicken. The chicken was amazing.
Yeah.
The soup we had was amazing. It was what fun? It's the
butternuts.
The butternut squash soup was
soup
amazing. I mean, anything we left was because we were just filled to the gills.
Yeah.
It was by far, it was the most, it was probably the best meal that I had.
And I'm almost sorry that we had Liberty Tree Tavern on the same day.
Yeah.
Because we were so full from Liberty Tree Tavern that as much as we appreciated the dinner, I couldn't finish my entree, and I felt that was because I was just full, but I took it home because okay, yeah, and I will absolutely agree that was an exceptional meal. It really, really was. The next thing on the top of my list, and what?
Oh, Jeannie, Dory is making some comments of things.
About the wine thing.
Because we had the wine sampler at it's in
you got the Rosso Regale. So Rosso Regale is a sweet sparkling red or a sweet sparkling raspberry wine. It's an Italian spumante, and it is a lovely raspberry sweet wine if you like sweet wines. And actually, I mean, even the driest of the champagnes was not bad. The Cava was okay. But I really liked the French champagne that they had. It was
the champagne selection was terrific.
Yeah,
not too expensive. So that was Dory's pick. Was she like that?
The alcohol.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, next on my list is going to be the cheese plate that I got at Grand Destino's Dahlia Lounge. So at least I had one of the best and one of the worst, and it truly was just 4 huge pieces of cheese with some quince paste and some honeycomb, and it was just lovely. And simple and just exactly what I needed at that point. So that made me very happy. I mean, there's not wild, crazy things to say about it. I'm sorry now I didn't get the charcuterie platter they had because I think that would have been even more interesting. So how many more do you have on your list?
Well, I mean, we also went to Hangar Bay 7. The food there was spectacular. Docking Bay 7. Yeah. Docking Bay 7 was really good. That was another one that exceeded expectations because we had hoped to get Ronto wraps, but they don't have a veggie one. So we went to Docking Bay 7, and actually the food there was another one that we tried to, we ate as much of it as we could because it was really good. The vegetarian option, which I don't remember what it was. It was Impossible Meatballs. So
Oh no, right. You were saying, yeah.
Really good. The meatballs were terrific. I had the pork. It was fantastic. Again, another one that exceeded expectations. The food was very good.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and of course on my list, Dole Whip, but not any Dole Whip. The Dole Whip raspberry pineapple float swirl.
Better.
That made me happy. Now,
Yes.
Randy made a discovery that he does not like plain Dole Whip as much as
the vanilla Dole Whip, the vanilla pineapple twist.
Yes.
That cut down on the tartness of the Dole Whip and made it a lot creamier. And that I really enjoyed. It was really good. Because we had regular Dole Whip, the twist, and then the raspberry. And I like the raspberry a lot.
Yeah.
But the twist, I think I enjoyed the most.
Yeah. And mine was the raspberry pineapple twist, and he did the vanilla pineapple twist. So yeah, they do not have the Kakamora float there right now, which is the coconut Dole Whip. What they have right now is a pistachio Dole Whip with over chai as a float. And what they say is if you blend it together, it really tastes like Christmas in a cup. We did not risk that because I did not have enough days I would not be getting back and getting more Dole Whip if I didn't like it. So did not do that.
Nomads.
And then, do you have any more on your top list?
And then just the drinks at Nomads. I mean, the drinks at Nomads are great, especially since Dory is very happy with her little
lotus flower.
Her little lotus flower that changes colors. So she loves this. But the drinks there are great, and you're sitting outside watching boats go by, watching people go by, and it's so Nomad is always at the top of our list.
Yeah. Patrick asked, how good is the transportation between the parks and Disney Springs, or would Uber Lyft be a better choice? Right now, you can't get from the parks to Disney Springs. You have to go to a hotel and take the hotel transport. So if you're at Epcot, you can walk out the International Gateway, walk over to the Beach Club, and take their bus to Disney Springs. But you can't go from the front of Epcot to Disney Springs. Hollywood Studios, you'd have to walk or take the boat over to one of the other hotels or go back to your hotel. I recommend finding the closest hotel with the shortest bus line and going to that hotel to take it, or calling the Uber or Lyft in general. For Hollywood, for Magic Kingdom, I will say get on the monorail and go to one of the hotels, or walk to the Contemporary, and that's where you're going to want to get your Uber or Lyft, because you still have to take the monorail to the front to get Uber or Lyft. They won't come to the front of Magic Kingdom where the buses are. And to minimize your amount of walking to the Contemporary or taking a bus somewhere is going to be so much faster for you. So my last food that I liked, since we already talked about the drinks at Animal Kingdom, is I really liked my Manhattan from the Grand Destino Tower, the Dahlia Lounge. The first night they made a traditional one, and it was Elijah Craig bourbon and a lot of orange in there and some bitters. He actually sweetened it up just a hair more. I don't remember what the flavor change was, but it was really, really yummy. And if you're staying in the tower, not if you're in the casitas, but if you're staying in that tower and you don't want to finish your drink while you're sitting there, you can take it back to your room. That was kind of fabulous. So, do you have any other foods that you really loved, or anything you really want to share? We actually did that in great time.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying. I mean, ultimately, it's everything we ate was, every meal we had was terrific. I mean, that was on par. I mean, I won't blame Disney for House of Blues. No. Which I hate dissing House of Blues because they had a nice band, they had nice live music too.
Yeah. But not what you were expecting.
I mean, everything we had. I mean, even the snacks we had. I mean, we had a couple different things. We had with Hollywood's at Animal Kingdom. We had the chai was really good. We had chai tea there. It was great, and we had just a muffin. I mean, every time we got something to eat, it was always really good. So, we had no complaints. We enjoyed the food everywhere.
And do you have any other thoughts about traveling during COVID? Did you feel safe? Did you feel unsafe? Did you have concerns?
When we were at Disney Springs, we didn't really enjoy ourselves too much. We didn't think people were social distancing very much. That was not very good. There were a lot of people that had, that were a lot of kids running around that, were running
Especially in
into
Magic
you.
Kingdom.
I mean, not so much at Magic Kingdom, but at
Oh,
Disney
yeah.
Springs. Disney
Oh,
Springs was
right,
bad.
right.
I mean, the plane, actually, Southwest handled things very well. We had our own row, so we felt very safe. I think the only place we didn't feel safe besides Disney Springs was probably just occasionally in the airport. But the TSA lines in the airport were non-existent.
Well, we also took like one of the last flights out that night.
Yeah, and we took a very early flight on Friday.
Right.
But the airports weren't that crowded.
Right.
And then the only other thing we did was we got on Magical Express. That wasn't very crowded. They separated everybody out and told people where to sit, and they started seating everyone in the back of the bus and moved everyone forward. So you didn't have a lot of interaction with people.
No.
And most people are very good about social distancing and wearing masks because whenever we saw someone not doing it, they really stood out. So that means overall we knew that if someone was standing out, then most people were doing very well. And most people, if you move away from them, they'd be like, oh, okay, you're just staying out of range. Everyone was very good about that. So we were concerned. We had, but in practice, everything was good. We had no issues.
Yeah. So I think that's it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much, Randy and Dory, for joining me. If you have not already done so, guys, please remember to like this channel by hitting the little subscribe button there. Hit the bell notification if you want to know when future things are coming out. If you have any questions or more topics you want me to cover, I will be back during the week of Christmas, so I'll have more stuff, and there'll be videos coming out every week as I start getting closer to putting the information up from this trip. If you have anything else you want, like I said, that you want to talk about, let me know. You are very welcome, Patrick. Patrick says thank you to everybody. And I think that this is it for now. Yep. Any last words, Randy?
No, I hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Tummy Turkey Day, everybody.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time. And